Well, good morning everyone. It's the 6th of January, so a happy new year to you all. I hope you had a good one. It's my first outing in 2026. So if you've watched my channel before, you probably recognise this path. It's the path to Aimer Cove, but I'm not going to Aimer Cove today. I'm going to the beach next door, which is Westcombe Beach. I think it's about a 30-minute walk. It's not too far, but it does involve a big hill. So I'm not looking forward to that too much with this heavy backpack on. Anyway, catch you up later. Today's a very calm day, so I'm not sure what I'm going to achieve photography wise, but it'll give me the opportunity to test out my new wide angle lens, which I'll talk about later. Well, there's Aimer Cove, and the tide's pretty much in at the moment, and that is the hill I've just got to climb to the next beach. I'm not looking forward to that with my backpack on. Anyway, better crack on. This hill seems to go on and on and on. Oh, never mind, I'll get there soon. I've just climbed that hill and that was bloody hard, but anyway, I've been rewarded with my first view of Westcombe Beach and it looks pretty good. Whether the conditions are okay for photography remains to be seen. Anyway, finally made it to the beach. Bit of a treacherous climb down the hill for the final leg. Not looking forward to going up that on the way back, but anyway, let's see if I can get some photos. Well, as I said earlier, I didn't think the lighting conditions were ideal, and they're certainly not. So I'm going to experiment with my new lens. I said I was after a wide-angle lens earlier. Well, I didn't get the Fujifilm. What I did get was a second-hand Laowa 19mm, and I bought it knowing all of its shortcomings. For instance, it's only manual focus. It's got no electronic connection to the camera, so I don't know the EXIF. But other than that, I've used it a couple of times in Venice previously, and it was pretty sharp if you stayed around f8 and f11. So I'm going to set the shot up of the stream behind me. Just going to line something up, and then I'm going to get my tripod out, I think. Oh, it's so wide angle this. Have to get closer than I thought. Do you know what, even handheld, I think I got a reasonable shot. I'm going to put it on the tripod and see what happens.
This was a quick handheld frame. I hadn't planned anything here. I was just testing a composition and getting a feel for the Laowa 19mm. I wanted to see how it handled the foreground at close range, how much space it pulled into the frame, and whether the perspective felt natural. Even as a grab shot, I could see the potential, the way the water leads in, the balance between foreground and horizon, and how much of the scene the lens manages to hold together. It's not a finished image, but it told me enough to know this lens is worth spending more time with.
I found a composition I like, and I've just taken the first shot, and it looks all right on the back of the screen, but I'm going to try another one, same composition, but I'm going to put a 3-stop filter on it this time, just to slow the water down a little bit.
This one's on the tripod, using a 3-stop filter. It gave a bit of movement in the water, but not enough to really slow it down. Useful to see what it does, but I'd need more density to get the effect I was after.
So one of the problems I'm experiencing with this lens at the moment, it's not a real problem, it's just something I need to be aware of, is vignetting when I use filters on it. So I can't stack filters on it at the moment, I can just use one filter at the moment. Today it hasn't proved too much of a problem, but I think in the future I'm going to need to buy a new filter set to use this lens properly. Anyway, I'm going to set up my next composition. I proudly said to myself this morning when I set off that I wasn't going to use ND filters because I feel they're overdone in photography at the moment, but I've succumbed. I've already started putting an ND6 on there for a 1-second exposure. I'm going to put an ND10 on there now, sorry, an ND1000 for a lot longer exposure and blur the water right down.
This one was taken with a 10-stop filter. Given the conditions, this is probably about as good as it's going to get here. I think it would work better on a moodier day, and it's an image I can see making more sense in black and white.
So for my next shot, I think I'm going to use these rocks behind me, use the little rock in front, there, as foreground interest, and hopefully a nice interesting shot.
Just before I got soaked by a rogue wave, I managed to capture this image. The water was pushing back across the sand, softening everything around the rocks, while the cliffs stayed sharp and solid in the background. It's a balance between movement and structure. The sea constantly shifting, the landscape not going anywhere.
Anyway, unfortunately that didn't work. I got soaking wet, couldn't get close enough to the rock. So I'm going to go and put my 35 to 70 lens on and see if I can get a bit closer without getting wet.
After switching to the 35 to 70mm lens, this was the frame that really came together. The longer focal length simplified the scene, isolating the rocks as they cut through the water, with the sea smoothing out around them. Everything felt more balanced here, less about testing and more about seeing, and it ended up being my favourite image of the day.
Just going to have a little rest, have a cup of tea and wait for the tide to go down a little bit more, and then I'm going to take some more photos, probably of the rocks around here. Well, I'm really loving having the wide angle lens, but at the moment, for the rocks behind me, I wish I had a telephoto, so that is the next purchase, probably several months away or even several years away, but the rocks here have got incredible shapes. I'm not sure they're going to come out in the photos I take, but we can but try.
This was framed as a square, to simplify the composition and keep the focus on the shape of the rocks. The longer exposure smoothed the water, while the structure and texture of the cliff stayed intact. It's a straightforward image, but the square format helps hold everything together.
Okay, so I'm actually going to try it with just a polarizing filter on this now, no ND filter, and hopefully just a very slow bit of water blur. Well, I don't think those last shots worked. I think they look pretty awful, if I'm honest. But then again, it's a bit of experimentation, isn't it?
Looking back at this one, it wasn't as bad as I first thought. It's still fairly ordinary, but there's enough there to make it usable. At the end of the video, I've included a short slideshow showing the before and edited versions of the photos to give a better sense of how they developed.
Anyway, I think I'm going to drink my tea, the rest of my tea, and call it a day. It's been a really good morning. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Even though the conditions weren't ideal, I got to play with my new wide-angle lens, which I think looks all right on the back of the screen of the camera, but I won't know until I get home. I also realised I'm going to need a telephoto, but as I said earlier, that's months away, possibly even years away, the way things cost at the moment. So anyway, until the next video, I'll see you later.